Yeah, so thanks for the kind introduction. Let me just adjust that window here. I hope I can close it and it still works. Yes. Do you still see me on my screen? Okay. Yeah, so thanks again for the kind introduction. My name is Robert Hranitzky, and I have recently just joined Adobe as Senior Digital Video Evangelist, which means I have the mission to basically inspire people about how they can work more creatively and work faster and better using hopefully the Adobe tools like Premiere Pro and After Effects and so on. So before that, I've worked as a filmmaker and motion graphics designer, doing mostly commercials, visualizations, the occasional VFX, and title sequences for features and fictional content. So I have a pretty long history of working in the business, and now I have the pleasure to be able to basically teach and inspire the next generation. And with that, I would like to talk about the topic of today, which is leveraging AI in creative businesses. So for that, it's important to, it's not going to be a per se business talk, but I'm going to talk about how we can use tools that are using AI to your advantage to basically, get to good results faster. The thing is with AI, you should ask yourself, what is AI? Because it's a pretty broad topic these days. I mean, everyone is talking about AI. Every day there's news about AI. Every day there's new technology coming out. So I would like to break it down into 3 sections, which is assistive AI, generative AI, and general AI. So first of all, the assistive AI is what I personally enjoy most at this time, because it's AI that actually helps you get there faster. And these could be things that are built into tools, just not really generating an image, but help you to get a result that is there faster for you. Then there's the generative AI part, which is most prominently probably the example of Adobe Firefly, for example, where you just create a text input and it will give you back an image. So that's probably the best example. But generative AI is not just limited to images, right? It could be anything that is generated. It could be text, could be music, whatever. So that is the overall description of generative AI. And then there's general AI, which we will not talk about, because general AI is the AI that's actually taking over the world, as in movies. So we're not gonna talk about that one. We're gonna focus on the other AI part. And one thing that I want to stress and really put an emphasis on, which is both Adobe's vision as well as my personal opinion, is that creativity is human. At the end of the day, it's us humans that are driving the idea, that are driving whatever you want put in a prompt or whatever you want to create. You have to have a basic idea and understanding of what you want to accomplish. So the creativity part is a human part, and I honestly try to urge everyone to look at AI as a tool and not necessarily as a threat. So it is here to stay. Okay, so you can hate or love it. At the end of the day, it's up to you what you make out of it and how you use it to your advantage as a creative. No matter what you do as a creative, but again, it's here to stay, and it's up to you to decide on how you use it. It also comes down to questions like, how much time do you want to spend with boring tasks? And there's plenty of examples, and I'll use my time to hopefully show you and describe what I mean by that. Let me quickly see if there's a question. No, okay. Yeah, so at the end of the day, you want to get to the final result much faster, and this can be done through various tools that are built into the Adobe tools. And the AI technology that is behind all that is actually, it's been there for years, and it's actually called Adobe Sensei, like the Sensei master in martial arts movies. And to be honest, there's been a lot of technology that you've probably already used before AI became that buzzword. And in fact, here's a list of a couple of those technologies that are in the tool. For example, the red highlighted ones are the ones that are in the video tools, and there's things like Morph Cut or Autocolor, or most prominently the new Roto Brush 3 in After Effects that is also using AI to give you a better result and a faster result. But of course also stuff like text-based editing, which I will show in Premiere, and we'll also talk about Firefly in Photoshop and how you can use that in conjunction with After Effects. So with that, I would like to switch over to my tool, which is Premiere Pro, and I would like to show you a couple of things. I won't be able to transmit audio, so you will probably pick up a little bit of my speaker sound, so to say. And there's one little example I would like to show with regards to audio that I honestly urge you to try it out yourself, because otherwise you won't believe me anyway that it's working the way it's working. Okay, with that being said, one of those things, and I'm using a project I will quickly play here for you, so you see what it's about. So I'm going to mute the audio here right now. It's basically, so these are some demo assets that Adobe has produced for a fictional energy drink brand called Drip. It's beautifully shot, I think, with a Canon C500 and a red camera. So it's beautiful material, looks really cool, and it basically features athletes and coaches talking about the process of training and so on. So this is the example material, but this could be anything. This could be a documentary, this could be feature, whatever. So we're just going to use it as an example, as a basis to talk about a couple of the cool things and the cool stuff. So for that, I'm going to go to a new sequence, which is called text-based editing. I would like to show you also as a good example of how technology and AI can help you to get to the finish line faster. So with text-based editing, Adobe has really changed the way how you can work with Premiere in a way of getting a rough cut or even more than a rough cut done faster, simply because reading is faster than actually listening and playing back footage elements. So for that, let me switch to the import dialog. And here I can see already that I have a couple of clips prepared. It's the coach interview, and I have the option to do an automatic transcription here if I want to. Let me just get my webinar settings out of the way. So I can specify that I want to have an automatic transcription during import. I can specify the language if I want to, but I can also use AI to actually distinguish between different languages, and it can recognize 18 different languages that it can transcribe, and this will use on system and on computer transcription. So it's not uploading the footage up to the cloud, it's using on device, and if you are loading a new language for the first time, it will download a language pack. So again, it's yeah, you will have it done on your machine. So you can also enable language auto detection if you're not sure what language that is. So I know it's English, so we can still keep it on. But also, it can recognize the different voices and the different speakers. So I can specify, yes, I want to have separate speakers, or no, I do not. Of course, I want separate speakers right here, and I want to auto transcribe all imported clips, not just the ones that are in the sequence. And then I click on import, and the two clips are going to be imported and then transcribed. And for everyone that wants to see how the progress looks like, it was pretty fast because I've did it before, but you can open up a pretty new progress dashboard here in Premiere Pro that allows you to see what is going on, encodings and transcriptions and so on. So you can find that all over here. But to be able to work better in a specific task, it's recommended to actually change your workspace to, for example, the text-based editing workspace, which you will find here. And with that, see a window pop up here that actually will tell you, okay, is there a dialogue or not? But for that, of course, you have to select a clip sequence, for example, like this one. And all of a sudden you can see, well, here's a full transcript. And to me, it's really fascinating because for videos that I did, like tutorial videos, for example, or even short films that have dialogue, you have to, like before, you had to transcribe it by hand or use third-party tools or whatever, but it was always like time consuming and my good friend Michael, who did a documentary, he spent days transcribing hours and hours of footage, but now it's seconds or minutes if it's longer footage. So that's amazing. But it doesn't stop there, because you can do multiple things. If you remember, I said I want to have separate speakers. So that's really cool, because I know Sprecher 2, speaker 2 is the coach. So I can just type in coach. Speaker 1 is the interviewer, and that is crew 1, and this one is crew 2. Okay, so already it helps me to visually see and get to a result faster. And you know, everyone knows time is money, so the faster you get to something that is good, the better it is for you. And of course, you can focus on, you know, on the other stuff, actually make it look good, and you know, make it a good edit. So how can we work? Well, let me just select that track here, and all I have to do is just click on insert, and this will insert that clip into your sequence, which is already really cool, because I know this is the take or the sentence that I want to have in my edit. And now when I'm switching to my program monitor to see the actual program, so which is my sequence, my edit, my transcript will follow. So I can toggle between that and this. So this can be really nice to work with. So, but going back to our let's go back to the end here and go back to the coach clip here. And let's see what else we have. We have a couple of more sentences that we want to introduce here. So today's Tuesday. I'm going to add that. Then let's see what else he's saying. Well, it's how they train. I'm going to add that as well. And then, okay, so let's add that as well. Okay, so right now what happened really quickly is I have a rough cut that already has the relevant sentences that I want to have in here, which is really cool. Okay, so with that, it doesn't stop, right? Because actually what is also like a really mundane and boring task is filtering out filler words and pauses and that kind of thing. And I'm using here the Premiere Pro beta, so you can try that out. You can download it for yourself and play with features that are not in the release version, so to say. And one of those features is actually using filler words. So you can filter it down with that little funnel here. You can look for filler words, and filler words are ums and ahs and stuff like that. And you'll be able to delete those in bulk, so you have a much finer cut, which is really fantastic. But also it allows you to look for pauses, and those pauses are those 3 dots here. And in fact, it allows you to go into the transcript view options, and you can define the pause length. So whatever you think, and again, there's no given rule. It really depends on the speaker and how you know the person is speaking. You know, like, does it do a pause for drama, or is it someone that really pauses between each word? So you can really define that quite easily, but also you can you know, look into more search settings, or also like low confidence words, which is interesting, because these are the words where it's not quite sure if it recognized it properly when he's like mumbling a little bit. So you can use that, and also remove those pauses, delete all, and this will give you a much finer cut. So I've set it to a very fine detail now, but this allows you to basically go in and do even more than just the rough edit, which I think is pretty fantastic. And of course, then you also have the option of importing. Let's go ahead and let's do that. Importing multi-channel audio without the automatic transcription. So I'm just going to do import, and I'm going to show you how you can also work with multi-channel in case you have a specific channel that you want to transcribe. So you right-click on that, you go to transcribe, and then you will be able to basically select, again, the same things as we've seen before, language, also if you want to have separate speakers, but also most importantly for multi-channel, you can select which audio channel you want to use. for that specific transcription. So that gives you a little bit more flexibility. And again, you can manually start those transcribe options in there as well, and it's just a fantastic workflow. So with that said, of course you can also create closed captions. Again, a super mundane task, and you can choose between any preference you want to have. I'm just going to leave it as it is as a default. It's going to take like 3 seconds to basically create those captions. So you have that here, and of course you can change the formatting. I work as a creative, as a designer, so I'm very particular about very picky about typography and fonts and so on. So I know you want me to choose the Comic Sans, but I'm not going to do you that favor. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and choose the Helvetica Neue Condensed Bold. I think that looks beautiful for that. Did I change it? No, hang on. Where it is, Helvetica Neue Condensed Bold, there it is. Okay, and of course you can go ahead and make it look even more professional with adding a background, but the default background is not really cool, in my opinion. It's just like it just ends where the type ends, right? So it's very close, but you can give it some more room by extending that that slider here, and you can also round it off, so it just looks a little bit more professional. And of course you can move it up if you want, and you can define it as a style. So let's call this drip CC, and just go with that. And then you have already created that style. So that works really well. One thing I did not mention is actually the word drip. Now that I see that, and let me just quickly switch back and show you this, because if we look at the transcript, let's look for drip. Okay, so he's saying drip, but the brand actually is written DRYP. So what if you want to change that? We can go to replace and say replace with capital DRIP, replace all, and all of those have been replaced. Of course, we need to adjust it for the subtitle as well, but we can bulk replace words as well, which is really cool. All right, so I hope you can see that how much time this will save you to actually be more creative and actually fine tune the edit itself instead of doing mundane tasks like writing transcript manually. Let's talk a little bit about color, because a couple of things have changed as well with the color workflow. And for that, let me go to my color settings. And speaking of settings, there's a couple of things that have been changed on the basic level, which is having a Lumetri Color Settings tab here in Premiere Pro, which allows you to turn display color management on and off if you want to have that. But also, most importantly, there is the option to choose what material that is, but also the viewer gamma. And if any one of you has experienced the gamma shift phenomenon or feature or bug or whatever you want to call it, it's because Apple uses, QuickTime specifically uses a different viewer gamma than what is typical for broadcast or web, which is 2.4 and 2.2. So QuickTime uses 1.96. And now with the latest Premiere Pro update, you can compensate for that, and you can make sure that whatever you are grading and creating here will be reflected in the QuickTime and looks exactly the same. We're gonna keep it at broadcast for now. And I want to highlight a couple of new things that also uses the technology to be able to auto detect the log video color space. So if you have your footage, your plate that looks washed out like this, it's because it's log, and it can detect it without actually having to manually import a LUT. So you can just auto detect that, and this will make it look good instantly. But of course, you can choose any of your own LUTs that you have imported. So this could be like the Canon log or the Red log or whatever you want to use for that corresponding material. But most importantly, the next thing is really cool, because it will actually auto tone your media, which means that it recognizes that it's an HDR content. So you have, especially for the highlights, you have that beautiful highlight roll off. And if I turn that off, you will see that you have those burned out highlights here, because it's not tone mapping the full gamut of HDR. But if I turn that on, you will see that the way it looks. And in fact, you can also choose, but also automatically let it be changed on how it should use the tone mapping method from channel, so by channel, by preserving the hues or going max RGB. So it really depends on the footage and the source. This one is, for example, good for iPhone HDR footage, and this one is good for Mavic, for DJI drone footage, for example, like the Mavic's shooting. So this one is shot with one of those drones, and if I scrub through, you will see that you have the beautiful highlights here. Nothing is burned out, and if I turn the auto tone map media off, you will see that now you have all the highlights just basically disappearing and you have clipping happening. So with that on, you will also see that it's using the max RGB, good for PQ and HLG HDR content. So that's really cool. But it doesn't stop there, because there's another thing that's pretty nice when working with the color correction. And I'm not a huge fan of the auto button in whatever feature, you know, like auto this, auto that. Sometimes it gives you good results. Sometimes if you're on the clock and you really want to have a quick, good result of time or budget reasons, then yes, of course, by all means do that. And this is also AI, and it will also make sure that it looks at the footage and gives you a somewhat poppy, good look, not too extreme. Or of course, you can go in and use this as a starting point, and then go in and, you know, make it more contrasty by pulling down the shadows and pulling up the midtones a little bit. So you can use that. And in fact, there is also another AI feature I want to show, which is face detection, because it can recognize where the faces are and can make sure that the face colors are not going off into the green areas, for example. So let's activate the comparison view, and let's scrub a couple of frames back so we can see the coach here in a very similar position as the D camera. So this is the C and the D camera. And now we can, of course, highlight that clip, make sure that we also have auto-colored that one. So we did the same principle, but also in the basic correction. Hang on. Comparison view, okay, I can turn it on and off. I can also apply a match. So I can make sure that, I mean, this of course is pretty close from the get-go, but you can apply a color match, which will analyze this reference clip and apply that look to that. So you have little to no mismatch between two clips, which again is using AI to give you some benefit in how much time you spend on doing those rather boring tasks, like making sure it looks the same. Okay, cool. So the next feature I would like to show you really briefly, I'm not going to focus too much time on that, is an audio feature that I really would like for you to try it out by downloading the Premiere Pro beta. It's called Enhanced Speech, and I'm just going to show it with one clip. But also just maybe point out that you can tag, or you have to tag, the audio type. And for that, usually for every clip, you have to define what it is. Is it dialogue? Is it music, sound effects, ambience? What is it? So you can use AI to auto tag that, to auto detect that, or you can define it manually what it is. So that's another feature that helps you to get to the finish line faster. Let me quickly turn the comparison view off here and go back to audio. And with this little dialogue here, I'm gonna crank up the volume here a little bit and play that back, and hopefully you can make out what it is. Okay, so this is basically the lav mic failed, or the battery ran out, so you only have to use the sound or the microphone that is on the camera, which is of course not ideal, especially if you have some distance between the subject and the camera. But you can use the enhanced speech technology, and this is now using AI as well, to enhance the sound that is there. And let me just crank it up and play it back. Maybe, I hope you can make it out. Hi, I'm Peter Matthews, and I'm a track coach. So that's super fascinating. Try it out with your own content. Give some feedback to Adobe, to basically to the engineers, so that they can find out what works and what does not work. It's not like it's working for everything and everywhere, right? So of course, it's technology. It is magical, but it has its limits. But it's really, really incredible what it can do. So try that out. All right, let's go ahead and look at something that hopefully will be more interesting visually, because now we're dipping into how you can use generative AI. So let's look at this clip here. And this could be like a typical scenario where you have something where, you know, the client, and we all know clients, right? They're the ones that pay the bills, but they're also the ones that call you up on a Friday afternoon requesting changes, you know, and of course you don't want to say no, but also you don't want to spend all Friday afternoon working on things like that. So the task could be like, hey, can you extend that background a little bit, because we want to use a vertical version and maybe add a little bit of typography or logos above his head. And given the framing, it doesn't allow us to do that. So you have to extend the set or the surrounding. It's a locked camera, thankfully, so that makes it a little bit easier. And I'm going to show you an extra little trick if we have some time, how you can do that with moving cameras. But for this, the easiest way to do that is, and probably a lot of Premiere users don't know that, you can actually export a frame and you can specify what it should be, DPX, PNG. I'm going to use PNG because I want to have transparency. So I'm just going to export that right here and also import it into the project. Okay, so let me just overwrite that. That's fine. So it's right here. That's the PNG that I exported, and now I can control click, and I can go ahead and say edit in Adobe Photoshop. So there's like a seamless link between Premiere Pro and I believe almost every tool with Photoshop, literally, and it will open up Photoshop, load that image in Photoshop, and now I can start to work on that. And again, doing this manually would be more than just a couple of seconds. So let me just do a selection, invert that selection, and say generative fill, and say nothing, right? Just fill that surrounding area with whatever you think, whatever Firefly thinks is right. So it goes in, does its magic. I don't know what it will generate. Okay, so this could be total, you know, success or total fail. I don't know, really depends, but it gives you 3 options to choose from. And I pretty much like the first option already. Let me see what the second is. Let me see what the third is. Okay, the third is also pretty cool, right? So the third one is actually giving you a different design. Even if you're not happy, you can always go in and say, okay, let me just do that again, and let's see what it comes up with the second run. You can keep all those options and you can toggle through them. There's really no right or wrong. And again, it's using Firefly to basically calculate and generate that. Okay, I like that one a little bit better. And yeah, I think this one would be probably my favorite, or this one. I don't know. I think this one looks a little bit cleaner. So I'm gonna flatten that. I'm gonna delete that layer here. I don't need that. I'm just gonna flatten it and save it back. And now I can round trip back to Premiere Pro, and I can just take that file and change the layer order. So this one is sitting beneath it. Okay, and now in this file, I can, you know, I can mask out the coach because he's moving his arms a little bit around. And again, it's a locked camera, so somewhat easy to do. But now you can see him move, and we can add a little bit of a maybe of a gradient just to hide it, because we don't want to have it like a distracting thing. And in fact, it's like a cooking show. I did prepare something before now, and this is the way I pushed it a little bit more to the extreme, right? I made it even smaller. I think it's just 30%, so I shrinked it down a lot. You can see how much headroom he has now, and see how you know what Firefly created. That roof looks really cool, and this allowed me to add basically a little bit of motion graphics title into that, which could be used, you know, for a title sequence, or it could be used even for a vertical if I make it a little bit smaller. But this gives you more creative freedom on how you want maybe an establishing shot in the context of this commercial, which looks, I think, really cool. All right, so let's switch gears and let's close out on Premiere Pro, and let me launch the Adobe After Effects beta. I'm not showing any beta features, but then again, I don't know, because there's a new thing which is called 3D. It's not a new thing, but it's a new technology that's built into After Effects in a way that it can import natural, like real 3D objects like GLB files, OBJs, GLTFs, and so on. And that's really fascinating. But I wanted to focus a little bit more on the AI part and what can be done to actually speed up your workflow. If we have some time, I might show 3D or if there's questions, but actually I have two more examples that I want to show here with After Effects in the next 5 minutes or so. Rotobrush has been in After Effects for years, and it started with Rotobrush 1, then Rotobrush 2 came along, and now there's Rotobrush 3, which is the latest and greatest, which actually uses AI technology to basically give you an outline of the person. So let's look at this person here. And for that, I'm going to select my Rotobrush tool, which is still at the same spot. And the way it works is we double click on that material, and now we simply paint those areas that we want to keep with green. Okay, so it's easy to memorize. Green is good. Green is what we keep. Red is what we do not want to keep. So whenever you do, so for example, something like this, you hold down the Option or the Alt key, the cursor turns into a red cursor, and now you can just paint that back and make sure that you only select those areas that you want to keep. So a little bit here on the pant, and I think it's pretty good. So let's see what it does. So let me just propagate that all the way through. I'm not going to be super accurate because sometimes it needs a little bit help. Sometimes, you know, you have to just to nudge it into the right direction. But the cool thing is, and the new thing is, and let me freeze that. I'm just going to use it as it is. I'm not going to go into the details. But as you can see, as he's moving his arms and crossing his face, this is something that Rotobrush 2 could not do before. You could not have crossing limbs and stuff because simply the technology was a different methodology, how it basically looks at the outline, and now it looks at what it sees there, and it recognizes that it's a person that basically is crossing his limbs now. So we Rotobrush that out, and again, Rotobrush 3 is not there to, you know, it's not there to put him into a forest now, right? Obviously, because in the forest you would have completely different lighting. So that's not the use case for that. The use case for that would be have more control about how you grade the background, right? So for example, now we could completely change the look of the background into something that is more green opposed to purple, right? And still it works pretty cool. Or you can, I don't know, make it cooler or blue or whatever. So we have pretty much creative freedom on how we want to change that. But also we can add, for example, a little bit of typography to the background. And again, this will work really well. And if you don't believe me how well it works, I have also a pretty extreme example. Let me find that. Refine Edge, which is this one, because also the Refine Edge is also working really well in that regard. And so this is the final version. I'm just going to play that back for you real quick. Let me just render that. So I have applied Rotobrush there already. Let me stop the full screen. And if you don't believe me how good it looks, let me just show you the alpha, and then you will see how the hair looks like, which is pretty fascinating. And this allows you to make really good, you know, corrections to the background, like change the color like I did here. Again, this was orange originally, all right, and then completely change it to purple. Have some type, and if you look really closely, I think this is the 4K footage. You can see that it works really, really well. And the way you can find the Refine Edge tool is going in and going to the Refine Edge tool, and this will allow you to basically paint around areas that are hairy, furry, and so on, which is fantastic. All right, cool. Time is running out. Let me show you one more thing that I just did literally 2 hours ago, and it's this example. Let me don't save, because again, this we saw how we can do it with stills with a lock camera, right? With just extending the headroom above the subject. So for this, let me just go back to Photoshop real quick and open up that, I think it's this one. Yeah, so it's this one, and so basically here it's a stock image. It's a flyover of a forest, and what I wanted to do is basically take that first frame and copy it into a new document and just shift it down a little bit, get rid of the background. And now what I can say here is that's what I did actually. Let me just extend it a little bit. It's the German version of Photoshop, so apologies. Fülle mit. So that says fill it with a medieval city. Okay, so why would I do that? Well, this could be like an establishing shot of movie. This could be like a title sequence where you just want to have an establisher of, okay, we are here in the Middle Age, and you have castle, and the title, the 3D title is going to be on that. And let me see what it does. Okay, first one I don't like, but the second one is really cool. And the third one is, I don't know, this looks too much like a modern building. I think this looks pretty cool. So I'm going to keep that. And I can do that here on the other side as well. But actually, in fact, let me just show you the final one. We don't want to wait, because this is the final that I did. Okay, I have a castle a little bit more in the foreground. I have this, and notice that it also recognized that there's the sun in the middle. So just by calculating back the lens flare it has here, so Firefly knew, okay, there must be a sun like right in front of us. So giving us this backlit look here for the surrounding. But how can we make this work? Well, it's actually quite easy. I'm not going to go step by step on this because again, time is running out. But I'm going to show you the principle of that. So going into that comp, we have this Photoshop comp with all those layers in there. So we have the castle one and the city. It's all there. And then everything is put up into this composition, and we have a 3D track running that basically, I changed the layer size, but the 3D track basically gives us this camera that we can now use to basically recreate that fly through. And I added a text element, which is way back there. You can see it here. It's like 28,000, how many? 28,000 pixels into the Z-axis back. And all I did is added this as a matte painting. So this is just a layer that is sitting there. And now when I scrub through, we still have that that camera motion. So it's perfectly tracked. And I take that and put that into a master composition that looks like this, where basically I'm just, playing it back, having that in 3D in the background. And this is how quickly you could add elements like matte painting, set extension, whatever. This doesn't have to be final. It can be final. It can be just for purposes of exploration and brainstorming, or just final edits and changes for your shot. So with that being said, I think my time is pretty much up. If you want to follow me, I will restart my YouTube channel in German. I did a little pause. I used to do a lot of tutorials and reviews and that kind of stuff, but I spent a lot of time doing my Star Wars fan film, which you can find here. Feel free to check it out. Let me know. So that took a lot of time, but now given my new role, I want to work more with the German community. Feel free to let me know what you think about the tools. Any feedback, good or bad, I'll happy to forward that on, and also keep an eye out for more tutorials about new features, but also new technologies that will be evolving, and whatever I'll be explore with that and share. So check that out. Here's also the link again and the QR code if you want to do that. But other than that, thank you so much for checking out my talk here at the conference.